Thank you very much, Cancórla. Minister, I wonder if today you could give us your roadmap and your commitment to double expenditure in arts and culture over the next 6 years, and if you'll make a statement on the matter.
As Minister for Culture, Heritage and Gaeltacht, I greatly welcome the commitment given by An Taoiseach, here beside me, over 7 years, to increase government spending in the arts and culture sector on a trajectory that will see funding doubled by 2025. And my department and I continue to work rigorously with the Taoiseach and all of my government colleagues towards delivering on this commitment. And a first and very significant step in the delivery process has been Project Ireland 2040, which gave explicit recognition to the importance of our culture, language and heritage to a sustainable development over the next decade and beyond. And this recognition is underpinned by the unprecedented commitment by government to invest €1.2 billion in our culture, our language and our heritage over the 10-year implementation of the NDP. And in April of this year, I was delighted to launch my department's sectoral plan investing in our culture, language and heritage. And this plan sets out significant investment on a phased basis over the next 10 years, prioritised across 3 areas. So we've €785 million for culture, €295 million for heritage and €178 million for our language. And this level of investment will transform our cultural and heritage infrastructure right across the country and goes a long way towards honouring the commitment to double government spending on arts, culture and heritage. In terms of current funding, allocations fall to be determined annually as part of the estimates process. And in 2018, total current funding for my department increased by 11.5 million, or just under 5%, to 248,659 million, including an additional 2.8 million for the Arts Council, and an additional 1.7 million across all of the national cultural institutions, and just under 1 million in additional funding for the Heritage Programme, and an extra 1.4 million for the 20-year strategy for the Irish language. So the cumulative impact of these funding increases is further testament to the commitment to double government spending in this particular sector. And budget estimates 2019, as you know, are due to be presented on 9th of October next. And I can assure the Deputy of my ongoing commitment to achieving the best possible result for the arts and cultural sector, obviously taking into account the parameters set out in the Summer Economic Statement and the mid-year expenditure report published by the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform. Thank you, Deputy, for your question.
First supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. I'm sure you're very familiar with and probably have met with the National Campaign for the Arts, and I did have the pleasure of hosting them here in Leinster House to make a presentation on their pre-budget submission. And I suppose, as an umbrella organisation who represent all the art forms right across the country, there is a concern and there is, I suppose, a worry from them in terms of how that roadmap is being set out by the government and the stated objective of doubling that investment, because doubling that investment is the commitment, and that's a real promise that the artist took with all sincerity on your own part. The concern might be that, and is from the National Campaign for the Arts, that there is a dilution in terms of the commitment by combining capital with current expenditure. So while the announcement in relation to capital investment through Project Ireland 2040 is very much welcome, there is no point in having stages without actors, galleries without art, or exhibition spaces without exhibits, Minister. So therefore, I would ask you and call on you that there is a firm commitment, and the commitment is to double the expenditure on arts through current expenditure for arts and culture over the next 7 years. Okay, thank you.
There's 1 minute.
Margaret Lascian Corla, I can assure the Deputy, as I mentioned in my earlier statement, that I am doing all I can to achieve the best possible result with the Minister Donoghue in terms of current spend. As I said, you know, it's allocated on a yearly basis. Just to say, for example, that the current spend for 2017 was 237 million. It went up to 249 million for 2018, so that's an increase of 5%. The capital was 51, that went up to 54 in 2018, and that's 5.8%. It is important that we recognise the work that the Arts Council do, that there's also the cultural institutions. There's a lot of work going on in terms of the National Library. in terms of other project developments under the NDP. And at the end of the day, we also want to support the endeavours of Creative Ireland in terms of enabling the creative potential of each child, the enabling culture and creativity in every community, investing in our cultural infrastructure, and having Ireland as a centre of excellence for media production, and unifying our global reputation. But we have seen a steady increase over the years, and I'll be doing everything I can, Deputy, I assure you.
Final supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. That is comforting, and as I said, the current expenditure and the doubling of the current expenditure is where it's at for the artists and for the National Campaign for the Arts. You alluded to the Arts Council yourself, and we know it plays a very pivotal role in terms of the delivery and I suppose getting the funding out to the artists themselves. And there's a real working and good relationship between artists and the Arts Council, and that autonomy and that arm's length principle that the Arts Council holds, maintains, has established with the artists across the country is hugely important. And for that reason, the National Campaign for the Arts have asked that increased funding be made to the Arts Council. They have asked that 13.2 million in the upcoming budget would be made to the Arts Council to bring it back to the 2008 level of spending, which was 82 million, with a view to doubling the investment in the Arts Council. And I think that's hugely important, Minister, that we remain focused on the Arts Council. As I said, there is a huge good working relationship, great faith between the artists and the Arts Council. I think it's important that we maintain that and that we see government having that faith and that belief, and very much importantly given the money and the budget that's required to the Arts Council to do their job.
Final response, 1 minute, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy, and for outlining the good work that the Arts Council do. Just to delineate to you that their spend, obviously, and the money that my department gave them has significantly increased over the last number of years. Obviously, I'll still be endeavouring to obtain as much as I can this year, but it is important to stress that the 2008 spending was probably unsustainable. So while I've been endeavouring to ensure as much as I can, I think it's important that we remember that context. The National Development Plan itself is limited to capital investment and doesn't consider the current funding for artists and arts organisations, which is distributed by the Arts Council. And that said, there are vital links between the Arts Council's work and the delivery of my department's Culture and Creativity Investment Programme under the plan. But it is important that we support the artists on the ground. They're the people that need our assistance most. That is something that's very close to my heart in my role as Minister, but there is an arm's length principle there. What I have to try and do is secure as much as I can for my department in order to implement our commitment to double funding over the next 7 years, and within that will be an allocation to the Arts Council, and I'll be doing what I can to endeavour to do that.